Welcome back. Let's make life sciences make sense. Today we're covering the structure and function of the human ovum. Yep, we're talking about the single cell that holds the entire blueprint for a new life. And its journey, from the moment it's created to its potential fertilization, is honestly nothing short of incredible.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. Here it is. This is the human egg cell, the ovum. It's actually one of the largest cells in the human body, and it's carrying exactly half of the genetic information needed to create a new individual. So the big question is, where does this remarkable cell even come from? Let's get into its origin story.
All right, the origin story. The whole process is called oogenesis. And you know the really fascinating part? This journey actually kicks off before a woman is even born. All the potential eggs she will ever have are already there, waiting in her ovaries, right from birth. Now, this is not just some simple production line. It's more like a really carefully orchestrated competition. A woman starts out with millions of these potential follicles, but only about 400 will ever get the chance to mature and be released. So as you can see here, each month, a hormone called FSH kicks things off. It picks one follicle for the big leagues. That chosen one goes through a special kind of cell division called meiosis, which basically halves its chromosomes. And out of the 4 cells that are made, only one, just one, makes it out as the viable ovum, all prepped and ready for its big moment. Okay, so we've got our ovum, but what's it actually made of? Let's pop the hood and take a closer look at its anatomy, because if you want to understand what it does, you first have to understand how it's built. So, as you can see, it's not just a simple cell, it's a complex little machine, and every single part has a super specific and vital job to do. Let's break it down into its 3 main components: the nucleus, the cytoplasm, and that all-important outer layer. Right at the very heart of the ovum, you'll find its most precious cargo, the nucleus. And this isn't just any old nucleus. This one contains the haploid set of chromosomes. What that means is it has exactly half of the genetic instruction manual for a human. That's 22 autosomes and 1 X chromosome, just waiting to be paired up with the other half. Surrounding that nucleus is the cytoplasm. You can think of this as the cell's life support system. What's so cool about it is that it's absolutely packed with nutrients, proteins, fats, you name it. It's got everything a potential embryo will need to survive for its first few days before it can implant in the uterus. It's basically a self-contained, fully stocked pantry for the journey. And finally, we've got this crucial protective barrier, which is kind of like a biological security gate. This jelly layer is a genius piece of engineering. It'll let a single sperm get through, but the instant that happens, bam, it changes its structure and becomes an impenetrable fortress that blocks every other sperm out. This makes absolutely sure that only one sperm fertilizes the egg. So now we get how it's built, let's talk about its great journey and its function within the body. The ovum isn't just passively floating along, its entire trip is governed by this complex and beautifully timed hormonal symphony. And the conductor of that symphony is the menstrual cycle. This chart here shows that rhythm perfectly. You can see these lines rising and falling. Those are the different hormones, calling the shots, triggering all the changes in the ovary and the uterus over about 28 days. So early in the cycle, the pituitary gland, think of it as mission control, sends out FSH. And just like its name suggests, it stimulates a follicle to grow up and become what's called a Graafian follicle. That's the final stage before release. Now, as that follicle is developing, it starts producing its own hormone, estrogen. And estrogen is basically the signal that tells the uterus, hey, get ready, thicken up your lining, because we might have an incoming embryo. Then, right around the middle of the cycle, something really dramatic happens. Mission control releases a massive surge of a different hormone, LH. And I'm not talking about a small blip here. This is the main event. It's the trigger that the entire system has been building up to. And this huge surge of LH, that's the signal the ovum has been waiting for. It causes that mature Graafian follicle to literally burst open and release the ovum from the ovary. And that process right there is called ovulation. The egg is now officially on its way. So after it's released, the ovum travels into the fallopian tube. This is where it might just have a fateful encounter. This is the crucial window of opportunity, a really brief period where a new life can actually begin. This is it. This is where the ovum's main biological purpose can be fulfilled. And here's a key point that a lot of people don't realize. Fertilization doesn't happen in the uterus. Nope, it happens right here, in the fallopian tube, while the ovum is making its way towards the uterus. And it is a very selective process. As we see here, one sperm makes contact, and its nucleus is allowed inside. Then, remember our security guard, the jelly layer? It immediately hardens, blocking all the others out. After that, the two nuclei, one from the sperm, one from the ovum, they fuse together. And in that precise moment, a new, totally unique cell called a diploid zygote is formed, now with its full set of chromosomes. So what does this all mean for the ovum's journey? Well, its path now splits into two. What happens next depends entirely on whether that fateful encounter in the fallopian tube actually took place. So depending on whether fertilization happened, the body gets a very different set of instructions. If there's no fertilization, the structure that's left behind in the ovary, it's called the corpus luteum, it just degenerates. Progesterone levels drop and the uterine lining is shed. But if fertilization did happen, that corpus luteum gets a signal to stick around, keeping progesterone levels high to support the uterine lining and maintain the new pregnancy. And if fertilization was successful, that brand new zygote begins an absolutely incredible transformation. While it's still traveling down the fallopian tube, it starts dividing again and again through mitosis. One cell becomes two become four, and it just keeps going, forming a little ball of cells that will eventually develop into an embryo, ready to find a home in the uterus. I mean, when you step back and look at the whole thing, from its creation in that complex hormonal dance to its potential fertilization, the ovum is truly a single cell with a universe of potential. Its structure is perfectly designed for its function, carrying both the genetic blueprint and the fuel for the very first days of development. It's the starting point of every single human story, which really makes you wonder, what will it teach us next?